People often ask whether karma is real, whether the universe somehow keeps score of what we do and gives it back to us in kind. But the deeper question is not about the word itself. The deeper question is about accountability. It is about whether your actions matter when no one is watching, whether your intentions leave traces even when the world applauds you for something else, and whether justice is real even when it is delayed. Every human being lives with the quiet awareness that what we do shapes us. You cannot lie without something inside you bending. You cannot oppress without something inside you hardening. You cannot show mercy without something inside you softening. This is not superstition. This is the soul responding to truth. Before consequences appear in the world around you, they first appear within you. Long before your deeds come back to meet you in public, they settle into your private self. Sometimes people expect consequences to be immediate. They think if something bad happens, it must be punishment, and if something good happens, it must be reward. But life does not work that simply. A person may wrong others for years and still seem untouched. Another may do good quietly and still struggle deeply. That does not mean justice is absent. It means justice is wiser than haste. Consequences are not always loud. Often they arrive as restlessness, as emptiness, as a heart that cannot enjoy what it owns. Every action leaves a mark. When you help someone without expecting praise, you train your heart to love goodness for its own sake. When you harm someone and justify it to yourself, you train your heart to silence its conscience. Over time, that silence becomes a prison. The punishment is not always the loss of wealth or status. Sometimes the punishment is becoming the kind of person who no longer feels shame. And sometimes the reward is not more money or ease, but becoming someone who can sleep peacefully at night. There are people who appear successful, admired, and powerful, yet they live in constant fear. Fear of being exposed, fear of losing control, fear of someone treating them the way they treated others. That fear is not random. It is the echo of their own deeds. And there are people whose lives look simple from the outside, but their hearts are expansive, calm, and hopeful. That tranquility is also an echo. What you send out does return, but not always in the form you expect. One of the greatest misunderstandings is thinking that consequences are only external. In reality, the most serious consequences are internal. Every choice you make is shaping who you are becoming. You are not just performing actions, you are authoring your character. When you choose honesty while it costs you, you become someone who values truth over comfort. When you choose cruelty because it benefits you, you become someone who normalizes harm. The world you build inside yourself eventually becomes the world you experience around you. Sometimes consequences are delayed as a mercy. Delay gives space for reflection, repentance, and change. If every mistake were instantly punished, many people would never have the chance to grow. Delay is not approval, delay is opportunity. It is a door that remains open, asking whether you will return, correct, and heal what you broke. But delay should never be mistaken for immunity. What is postponed is not erased. There is also a difference between consequences and revenge. True justice is not about watching others suffer. It is about balance being restored. When harm is done, something is thrown off balance. Justice restores that balance, sometimes by correcting the wrongdoer, sometimes by healing the wounded, sometimes by exposing truth, and sometimes by allowing a lesson to unfold over time. That is why gloating over another's downfall is itself a moral failure. If consequences teach humility, they succeed. If they produce arrogance in observers, something has been missed. Look carefully at your own life and you will see patterns. Moments where you acted with integrity often coincide with inner strength later. Moments where you compromise deeply often leave behind regret that resurfaces years after the situation is gone. This is not coincidence. This is the soul remembering. You may forget details, but the heart keeps records. It remembers how you treated people when you had power. It remembers what you did when you thought no one would ever know. The idea that deeds matter is not meant to frighten you, it is meant to free you. It means your kindness is never wasted. It means your patience is never invisible. It means that even when injustice goes unanswered in this world, it has not gone unnoticed. And it means that when you harm others, you are not escaping anything. You are only postponing a meeting with the truth. The most dangerous moment in a person's life is when they believe they are above consequences, when someone thinks they are too smart, too connected, or too successful to be held accountable. Their downfall has already begun internally. Arrogance blinds before it destroys. Humility protects before it elevates. The universe does not need to conspire against you when your own Choices are quietly shaping your future. If you want to know what tomorrow may look like, examine what you are planting today. If you want peace later, choose integrity now. If you want mercy when you are weak, show mercy when you are strong. If you want forgiveness when you fall short, forgive when others fail you. These are not abstract ideas, they are laws written into human existence. And if you have done wrong, the door is not closed. Accountability is not despair. Accountability is hope. It means change matters. It means turning back has meaning. It means repairing what you can, apologizing where possible, and realigning your actions with what you know to be right is never pointless. The weight you feel after wrongdoing is not meant to crush you. It is meant to guide you back. So ask yourself not whether karma is real, but whether you are living as if your actions matter. Because the truest consequence of your deeds is not what happens to you tomorrow, but who you become forever through the choices you make today. And when you understand that your choices are shaping you, you begin to look at life differently. You stop asking only, what will I gain? And start asking, what will this make me? Because gain can disappear, but what you become stays with you. Every decision is a quiet vote for the type of person you are turning into. No one else may notice the moment, but you will live with its imprint. Many people underestimate the power of small actions. They assume consequences only come from major betrayals or obvious acts of harm. But the soul is affected just as deeply by repeated small compromises. A minor lie repeated often becomes comfort with dishonesty. A small act of neglect done consistently becomes cruelty. Likewise, a small act of kindness done regularly becomes generosity. The soul is trained, not shocked, into its final state. There are moments when you stand at a crossroads where both paths look acceptable. One path is easier, quicker, less costly. The other demands restraint, patience, or sacrifice. In those moments, there may be no immediate sign telling you which choice is right, but the difference becomes clear later. The easier path often demands payment with interest. The harder path often pays dividends long after you have forgotten the struggle. People sometimes ask why good people suffer. They assume suffering is evidence of failure or neglect, but suffering is not always the consequence of wrongdoing. Sometimes it is the consequence of choosing depth in a shallow world. When you refuse to cheat, cut corners, or exploit others, you may lose opportunities that were built on injustice. That loss is not punishment. It is protection. It is the cost of keeping your soul intact. At the same time, suffering can also be a mirror. It forces you to confront what you value and what you rely on. When comfort is stripped away, you discover whether your principles were decorative or foundational. Hardship exposes whether your ethics were conditional or absolute. And in that exposure, growth becomes possible. There is a hidden consequence to goodness that many people overlook. Doing the right thing consistently builds resilience. It strengthens your inner compass. It allows you to walk through chaos without losing direction. When you know you have acted with sincerity, even criticism cannot fully unsettle you. Even loss does not destroy you. Integrity becomes a form of stability when everything else shifts. On the other hand, when your success is built on harm, deception, or exploitation, it is never secure. You become dependent on silence, fear, or manipulation to maintain what you gained. That dependence drains you. You are constantly guarding something fragile. The consequence is not only moral, it is psychological. Peace cannot coexist with guilt that is continually buried but never removed. Some consequences come in the form of relationships. The way you treat people determines who remains in your life when circumstances change. If you were on the kind when you needed something, people disappear when you no longer have leverage. If you were sincere when no benefit was attached, loyalty appears when you least expect it. Relationships are not random. They are reflections. There are consequences that unfold across time in ways we cannot predict. A word spoken in anger can echo for years in someone else's life. A moment of encouragement can alter the direction of a person's future. You may forget what you said, but they may build or break themselves around it. That is why responsibility is not only about what you do directly, but about the ripples you create. Understanding consequences also changes how you view forgiveness. Forgiveness does not erase accountability. It releases resentment. It prevents someone else's wrongdoing from corrupting your heart. Holding on to anger is often a consequence we impose on ourselves long after the original harm has ended. Letting go is not weakness, it is refusing to carry what was never yours to begin with. At times you may feel that doing the right thing leaves you unseen, unappreciated, or taken advantage of. That feeling can be heavy. But being unseen by people does not mean being unrecorded by reality. Goodness has a way of resurfacing. Sometimes it returns as strength in a moment when you desperately need it. Sometimes it returns as clarity when others are confused. Sometimes it returns as protection from paths that would have destroyed you. The question of consequences is also deeply connected to intention. Two people can perform the same action and experience different outcomes internally. One may give out of love, another out of pride. One may help to uplift, another to control. The external act looks identical, but the internal effect is not. Intention determines whether an action purifies or poisons the heart, and over time that inner effect becomes visible in a person's demeanor, their humility, and their peace. There are moments when consequences appear reversed, when those who act unjustly seem to thrive and those who act rightly seem to struggle. This is where patience becomes essential. Not everything ripens at the same pace. Some fruits spoil quickly, others require time to mature. Judging too early leads to confusion. Trusting the process requires maturity. You will encounter moments when you are tempted to abandon your values because others seem to benefit from doing so. In those moments, remember that you are not competing with them, you are becoming yourself. Their path will demand payment from them in a currency you may not see yet. Yours will reward you in ways that may not be obvious immediately. Stay focused on what you are building internally. Even regret has a role in accountability. Regret is painful, but it is also a sign that your conscience is alive. It is an invitation to change direction. Ignoring regret hardens the heart. Listening to it refines it. The ability to feel remorse is not a weakness, it is a safeguard against becoming lost. There is also accountability in how you respond after failure. Everyone falls short. What distinguishes people is not perfection but response. Some justify, blame, and repeat. Others reflect, correct, and grow. The consequence of humility after failure is wisdom. The consequence of arrogance after failure is repetition. When you live with awareness of consequences, you become more intentional. You speak more carefully, you act more thoughtfully, you begin to see every moment as meaningful, not because it is dramatic, but because it is formative. You realize that life is not only testing what you achieve, but who you are while achieving it. And slowly, almost quietly, this awareness transforms you. You stop needing external validation to do what is right. You stop fearing temporary loss when it preserves long-term integrity. You begin to understand that true success is alignment, when your actions, intentions, and values are no longer at war with each other.